Olá! Essa introdução vai ser particularmente curta, porque colocar legenda nos vídeos dá trabalho pra caramba e custa uma grana ferrada. Eu recentemente tive a oportunidade de entrevistar Anson Maddocks, um dos meus artistas favoritos do jogo e um dos artistas originais de Alpha, responsável por artes como o Animate Dead ou Elfos de Llanowar. Anson, na verdade, ele fez 30 artes em Alpha, o que é 10% da... Agora só tem 295 cartas, ele fez 30 delas, então, tipo, ele desenhou um monte de coisa em Alpha. Ele também fez artes em Era Glacial, Fallen Empires, Legendas. Ele era um artista muito prolífico no começo do jogo. E como eu disse, eu tive a oportunidade de entrevistá-lo. Acontece que, por absoluto acaso, eu entrevistei ele no dia 30 de novembro, 2 dias após a Wizards efetivamente colocar à venda a edição comemorativa dos 30 anos de Magic. Então, cara, essa foi uma oportunidade única de entrevistar um dos artistas originais de Alpha, 2 dias após todo esse bafafá do Magic 30 e ter em primeira mão a opinião dele como artista de Alpha diretamente afetado pelo lançamento do Magic 30, porque tipo, beleza, eu e você não gostamos do Magic 30, mas tá bom, não compra, tá ligado? No caso dele, é um pouco pior, porque estão pegando o trabalho dele e usando sem autorização dele pra fazer uma parada pela qual ele não tá recebendo dinheiro, e que mesmo que alguém abra, imagina se você abre um boost de $250 e dentro tem um Elfo de Llanowar, feliz tu não vai ficar. Então, eu tive essa oportunidade de entrevistá-lo e dei uma acelerada para que essa entrevista ficasse pronta e viesse logo para vocês. Com um pouquinho de sorte, a primeira entrevista com o artista de Alpha após o lançamento da coleção de Magic 30 anos. Este vídeo é um oferecimento da Liga Magic, o maior portal de Magic da América Latina. A cada R$100 em compras, você concorre no mês de dezembro a 40 bundles de Guerra dos Irmãos. Use o código promocional ELBA para dobrar as suas chances de ganhar. So, Anson, the way I've structured this, we're going to split this interview into 3 big chapters, okay?
Okay.
The first chapter is going to be early Wizards and working with art in the early 90s, because it is my understanding that, and I'm not a professional artist, I might say something very silly here, but it is my understanding that working with art before internet and computers was a very different thing than being a professional artist in 2022.
Yeah.
Second chapter is going to be about how Wizards changed throughout the years. I call this the changes in the relationship. It is my understanding, and we're going to get into details, that as the years went by, the company became very different from what it originally was. And the last part is everybody's favorite part. We're going to talk about the smash hit product, the Magic 30th Anniversary Collection, everyone's favorite Wizards of the Coast product since 1993.
Mm-hmm.
In case anyone's sarcastometer is broken, that was sarcasm.
Yes.
So, let's begin with the basics. What was it like? I know you used to work to do freelance work for Wizards of the Coast RPG before you started with Magic. What was it like? When did you start working as an artist?
Probably 1988, I guess, is when I really started getting...
Late 80s? Something like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was going to school at Cornish, it's this school in Seattle, and I was kind of paying for my tuition as I went, and the work picked up quite a bit, and I eventually just dropped out of Cornish. But Jesper Mirafors and some of the other artists were actually going to school there as well, so I had a contact there.
Well, I was going to ask if you were based in Seattle But about Jasper First, I've spoken to him about early days, the beginning of magic art, and I kind of get I'm probably wrong here, but I kind of get the impression that it was sort of a work for exposure thing that happened to turn out well. The way I understand the story is that he also went to Cornish, and he talked around with classmates and people who studied there, saying, hey, we got this game and we need art, and we can pay you with money, but we can give you stock, and if the game turns out well, you're going to make tons of money. Is that about right?
Yeah. They were the task of getting artwork for the game. If we're talking about Magic.
Yeah, for Magic.
Right. They knew that they didn't have the amount of money they needed to start up with paying all the artists, full compensation. So the stock was, they half stock, half cash. And at the time, because there was no expectation of this game, doing particularly well, because you always get that pitch at the beginning of a job. It's going to be great. You're going to be so everybody's going to know you. Yes,
yeah, your name's going to be on everything. Well,
right.
That scam happens in Brazil as well. Yeah. Anyone who does anything public facing has heard that story before.
Right. But at the time, it was rare to have a high quality color reproduction of your work. It was, usually it was Kinko's, that's as fancy as your printing got.
Yeah.
And to have something printed in color, it was an interesting prospect. And the idea of having so many color pieces, like card size, was a little portfolio. That's good. I can use this as business cards at the very least.
Oh yeah, I can see that in a world where it's hard to get printed copies.
Right.
Yeah, they are printing the copies for you. Your work until then was, as you said, mostly black and white. That is interesting. Did how much would you say that the fact that you already had a working relationship with Wizards of the Coast, which from what I understand, it was like a 4 or 5 people company at the time. Am I mistaken in that?
I think there were 6 people there.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm getting notes that my internet connection is unstable.
Oh no, you're fine. We're good.
Okay.
All
right.
So, how much would you say that your previous working relationship with Wizards dogged Jasper Mirfors into getting you specifically? Because you yourself drew over 10% of alpha. I mean, that I don't think that was that an accident. I don't think so.
They were having trouble getting other artists to have confidence in the success. So
what? You mean that the story, do this for us for very little money, and we work, and we swear it's gonna work out nicely. That didn't catch on? Who could imagine?
No, not with everybody, but Jesper was very he was convincing. His enthusiasm was really hard to say no to, and when he would get artists dropping their assignments, he would ask me if I could take on any more, and I was like, sure. And so that's why I ended up getting more pieces than the average artist in that first set.
Oh, okay. Well, so now this might be something that is a cultural difference. It is my understanding that in the US, the culture of company stock and promising stock and making promissory notes and so on is very prevalent. Down here in Brazil, the notion of a small company having stocks is laughable. I have this idea and I'm going to pay you in company stocks. That just doesn't happen. It's just money or no money, or promise you're going to work in the future. is that leads me to think, how the market happened back in early 90s, or was Wizards of the Coast particularly worried about having all their stuff very neatly together with contracts and promises and stocks and all that?
They were pretty reckless with their agreements. I think they knew that it was going to do well, so I think they promised the stock and assumed they were going to go through with it, which they did. But it wasn't a factor in my decision to do the work. I was like, okay, that's great. Maybe that'll happen. But that wasn't what made me say yes to it. What made me say yes is they're going to print this thing and I will have copies of it. And Jesper will be happy, and he's cool, and he's giving me so much work. I want to make him happy, and it's a friend thing.
Yeah, I get it. And the friend thing evolved into a working relationship that I understand that at first was very nice in all aspects of the word. This will sound weird as a question, but was the original job agreement when we said, okay, you know what, Jesper, great idea, I'm gonna do it. Was there a formal contract, or was it a word of mouth thing? And this question feels to me like it's a cultural difference. In here, it's very common for small companies to be like, no, you're cool, we're cool, we're done.
There were contracts that were just very basic contracts, and those contracts were superseded by later contracts. Actually, I have a copy of the contract so they went through contract negotiations with us, and so it'd be a room full of artists and a lawyer, and it became this thing where they needed more and more control over the images. And because initially it was just, you can print my illustration once, and if you want to print it after that, you have to talk. And this, I didn't set up the contract terms, but Jesper was always very protective over the artist's rights, and he never let a contract be written or signed that wasn't favorable to the artists. And as time went on, the contracts would be replaced by newer contracts that gave the artists less and less control over their work. And
yes, I can see that happening. Please, you're going to say at one point?
Well, at one point, they just decided to try to buy the rights out completely from the artists. And I think some of the artists did sell their rights out completely. I didn't. I know a few other artists who didn't. And it wasn't that we really, really wanted to hold on to the rights. It was that the attitude was all about, hey, if you don't sell the rights to us, we're just going to kick you out of the game, and it's going to be, you're going to wish you did, that kind of thing. Just sort of a strong arm legal.
I see. It's not. Would you, completely ignoring the attitude, would you say that the offer to buy the right, because as I said, my background is in HR, it makes sense from a business perspective. Well, it is much better to pay for the art right, and I can use the art however I want, than to pay every single time I'm printing it. Other than the attitude, was the offer to buy the art particularly offensive? I don't know, something stupid like, I'm going to pay you $20 for your rights, or something offensive like that? Because I can see. As we were chatting before the recording began, a proudness thing. I've worked well and you're not treating me right. It's not about money anymore. Would you say that money was the issue, or just the way they put it?
It was the way that they, like, with the offer, they also included it. If you choose not to do this, we're just going to replace you, right? The wording,
Yeah.
Okay. At the time, the offer was not insulting. It was just, at the time, I was doing pretty well, and I didn't need to take them on their offer.
Yeah.
It wasn't good enough to really jump at, you know? And with the attitude in the, you know, the way that they were talking about, you know, just,
yeah,
I expected them to be hiring, you know, great artists, and that I didn't have a problem with being replaced, because that's just what you do, and you cycle in new art and stuff. No, I mean, I can tell you, I think that the offer was like $2,000 per piece.
Okay.
To buy the rights out completely, the remaining rights.
So this was about what, late 90s, I would guess?
Mid to late 90s.
I got one. Was this, do you know whether this was before or after Hasbro bought out Wizards?
They were trying to make Wizards very tempting to a buyer, and so they were trying to.
So it was right before the purchase.
Right. So you want to, you know, get all your loose ends taken care of. Yeah.
So I'm going to assume 1998, just for the purposes of, you know what, let's make a fun game. Everyone who's watching this, I'm going to count how many Anson Maddocks arts there were at this point, and we'll see how many pieces that was.
I'm sorry, I have something I can look at, actually. So one of the final contracts that I received has a list of all the pieces that I had done that they were offering to buy. It doesn't have a number on it, though. It's like 130 pieces, I think.
Okay, that does sound about right. We are moving to chapter number 2, the part of how Wizards changed throughout the years, because we're just moving there naturally. One quick question before I get into the meat of potatoes there. This, at the same time, the working with art sounds like the kind of thing you work from home, but working from home is such a new thing in terms of global multinational corporate practices. How was working the painting at the early 90s? Did you know that? Did you go often to Wizards offices? Did you know Peter Atkinson personally, or did you just get mail and you worked in your studio and you sent them the pieces and never met anyone?
So Peter's office was in his basement of his house, and it was a short drive from where I lived in Seattle to Kent, Washington, where he lived. I would have like 3 or 4 pieces at a time finished, and I would drive them there with Andy Rousseau, another, a friend, artist who also worked for Magic. We would just bring them in and say hi, and they would update us on what was happening with the game, and we'd leave and come back with 3 or 4 more pieces, later, in the week. It's incredible how much we actually got done in the space of 1 month. It was like, when I look at it now, I'm like, no way. There's no way I did all that in a month. It's crazy. Like 1992, I think I did more work in 92 than I've done in a 10-year span after that.
Well, the good old crunch. And the reason why I'm asking this is because from a fan perspective, it is very easy to say, oh no, Wizards of the Coast, they were a perfect company. They were the happiest place on earth, and it all went to ruins when they were bought out by the bad corporation Hasbro, because that's the only thing that ever happened that made everything change. What are your thoughts on that? Is that accurate? Is that an exaggeration? Is that...
It sounds very similar to the way I see it, which is when they started allowing the shareholders to decide what the company should do, and the lawyers were there to enforce the will and the desires of the shareholders. That's when it went from something where like, hey, we're going to make this thing that everybody's going to love, to the shareholders want us to do this now, and the lawyers are like, yeah, that's probably a good idea because that's the way it works in comic books and these other industries. What they were trying to do with Wizards of the Coast was create something that was the best of every business model. They wanted Peter Atkinson's main goal was to employ as many people as possible. And everything else was lower than that. If he could give people jobs, that's what he really wanted.
Cool.
And that's great. But
I never met the man. Would you say he's a stand-up guy?
I really like Peter, and I've never had any problems with him. People who are closer to him, they have Jesper he's got a lot of what do you call it? Emotional energy that is usually really good, but if something rubs him in the wrong way, he gets kind of angry.
No one's the same. I'm not saying his the next Gandhi is just, as I said, I never spoke to him, never met him, didn't know what your thoughts were on him. So on your book, he's okay.
Yeah, here's a problem. I have trouble keeping up with my email, and I have messages from Peter in my email that I still haven't seen yet because I just noticed them today.
You mean like from the late 90s?
I don't know. No, probably months ago.
Oh, okay,
but,
okay.
I'm really bad.
All right, no,
because I have so much spam.
I know the feeling. But if you told me you had an unread email from 1996, I was going to be like, "Wow, you're bad with email, man."
That would be a really good archive, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, look at all this work I missed.
Yeah. Because what I was going for, I noticed by looking at your art, as I said, you were you were the most prolific artist in Alpha. And then the game started
Dan
going...
Fraser.
I'm sorry?
Dan Fraser was...
Dan Fraser was?
Yeah, he did more pieces than me.
Did you guys compete?
And then me.
Like friendly ribbing? No? Just happened.
Nope.
Wow. Well,
there wasn't much contact between the artists, actually, in the beginning. It's just if you happen to know an artist, you talk to...
I'm thinking Jesper was kind of the handler.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I got a job for you.
He was always his thing. He had a really great sense of humor. He was always just joking about everything and kind of keeping the spirits up. And but he didn't set the artists against each other at all. He was just like, come in, do work, be happy.
Awesome, very awesome. And I know so you did more than 10% of Alpha by yourself, and you were very prolific in old sets as well. You have tons of arts in Ice Age, and as time moved on, I see fewer and fewer Anson Maddocks pieces showing in the game. Now I don't know if that's because of Sue and Harkey, or if that was a choice because you got tired and you wanted to work on something else. And heck, your last art was for Time Spiral 2006. I'm thinking that's my research. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. But even before, you did like one thing in 2006, one thing in 2004. Was this diminishing of art production for Wizards of the Coast? Was this a choice of yours, a choice of theirs, something that just naturally happened? What?
So when we received assignments early on, we would get the title of the piece, and that's what we had to work with. that was fun. And
sounds like fun.
I mean, most illustration is, there's a lot of description about something that you have to translate into a visual image, and that's illustration. But the earlier on, it felt more like fine art, because it's like, oh, what can I do with that title, and you got a lot of freedom to express that, as you decided to. But the need for a storyline started to become really important, and so I understand where they wanted to have more control over the what is being represented, but it did take some of the fun out of it to have this a page of description that was somebody else's idea that you have to translate it. Right. It's like anybody could do that.
Well,
the concepts are what I really in their own way.
Your concepts are incredible, and this is something I'm telling for the people who are going to watch this. I hope we have a separate opportunity to talk, because your concepts are so great. We've talked about quick stuff like living artifact, or we've spoke about that before, or the fact that you didn't purposefully make Guardian Angel and Paralyzed as one larger art piece. Yeah. And I think we could go make an entire thing just going through your art and saying, okay, how did you get to this idea? Because that is something I particularly enjoy about your art, how it's never obvious. It is okay, now that I'm going to say it out loud, it sounds stupid, but it seems really creative.
Oh, I'm one of those.
Yeah. So I can understand how the creation of art descriptions and the unified what's it called again? Not is it called a world book?
Concept guide or
concept guide, right? I can see how the concept guide would take a good chunk of the fun out of the production of art. So that's
true.
So
it's also good to feel like, I would say that I liked being on a team that was all kind of working towards building, a world, style and whatnot. But I can't be doing that all the time, because I feel like I need to just do things my way a lot, and
see that?
I did do some work in-house, at Wizards of the Coast, working on the style guides. It was, it's just different. The way that I like to work is to think about the way something could be represented, and throw a big wrench in the gears and just go a different direction, because I want people to look at what is, what I've given them to consider, and I want them to go, oh, okay, that's different than I thought it might be. Which is the best example of that would be bloodlust. You can't.
Oh, yeah.
How do you depict bloodlust if it's going to be the same as everybody? Somebody just
a big angry barbarian going.
Exactly.
Well,
exactly. So I just wanted to be. I just maybe I won't get away with it. Maybe I'll have to redo it. But it got accepted, so it's like, yeah.
and I understand that as time went on, that kind of stuff started flying by less and less, right?
Yeah. When you have a storyline, everything has to be accounted for. The mysteries are all very rare. I like to put mysteries in my pieces, and they like to make sure that everything is answerable if it becomes a question.
Yeah, I see. I see. And so by the time Hasbro bought out Wizards, and this was 1999, for everyone that's listening, you were already not super into... I mean, Wizards was already in the storytelling phase, so to speak. They had storylines and they had established characters, and they were telling stories with the cards. Were you already kind of away from them, or would you say that Hasbro buying Wizards changed your relationship with the company?
I don't know if it was all about that. That could have had a lot to do with it, but I never really looked into it too much. I just knew that they had a lot more artists to choose from, and that's fine. And I was, doing other things, so I wasn't paying attention to them as much as I had been previously. But it wasn't a complete divorce of Wizards of the Coast at the time. It was just, it's always good to have other things to work on to kind of diversify the way you see your work, and
don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah, exactly.
I see. Well, man, the thing is, Hasbro did buy out Wizards, and as we've spoken, the stockholders and lawyers started taking more and more reins over art and over the company decisions. And now I think we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of this discussion. Okay. The very latest, the newest, bright idea that probably came from stockholders, because I do not believe that anyone that has any love for the game would actually think of doing this. The Magic 30th Anniversary Edition. So you were saying that the contract you signed back in Alpha days stated how many times they could print your art, and if they were to go and print it again, they would have to talk to you again. How did that go?
All right. This is kind of difficult because I have to be very careful about what I say.
Okay.
So maybe I won't be talking about Wizards of the Coast. Maybe I'm talking about a hypothetical company.
Of course.
That maybe did things, And
Priests of the Hill.
One of the things that they talked about in this company that we're talking about, they had a contract with their creative, freelancers, where if they didn't use the illustrations for a certain period of time, like say 5 years, the artist could ask them, you haven't been using this illustration, that the reason that you have this illustration is because when you make products with it, we share the profits from that.
Okay.
So the artist would get royalties with these things. Now, if nothing is being made, nothing is generating royalties.
And the artist doesn't get anything.
Right. So after 5 years, the artist could say, hey, you haven't used this in 5 years. I would like the intellectual property back.
Okay.
And this hypothetical company would say, oh, you're right. Okay, here you go. Sign a document. The rights go back to the artist.
You got your art.
That was not something that the artist intended. I mean, they didn't request this themselves, but if these artists were very intent on following the contract word by word, that would be something that they would act on, And
I see.
So if the company decided that they did not agree, that they were still using the properties, like say on a website that showed their product, but it wasn't a product, it was just showing pictures of the product.
It's kind of like it's closer to marketing than actual products in this situation, in this completely hypothetical situation you're explaining.
Right. Completely hypothetical, yeah. So if they decided to make a product after the request was made, what do you do?
It would stand to reason, please correct me if I'm wrong, but it is my understanding that if the intellectual property of the art was not used after 5 years, after however many years it was, and it had been used only for promotional purposes, showing pictures on a website, me who doesn't know anything, I've never seen the contract, I have no vested interest in any part here, but it would seem to me that if the company were to release a paid product using this intellectual property, I would assume something was owed to the original artists.
I do believe that company owes the artist royalties by the contract. And the difference would be if the artist did not say after 5 years, hey, this is what the contract says, then the company would still be, in possession of that property. And if they made a product, they would owe royalties to the artist. Which doing 10% of all the images in that product, the artist who did 10% would get a lot of royalties on something that was $1,000.
Of course, we are naturally speaking of a hypothetical product.
Yes, hypothetical product,
company, which may or may not produce gaming pieces.
Exactly.
On a completely unrelated note, absolutely unrelated note, did anyone at Wizards ever reach out to you before they put out the Magic 30th Anniversary Edition?
No.
Oh,
no,
wow. I'm sorry for changing the subject so abruptly. I'm just following the script here. Just that we were going completely off rail talking about hypothetical companies here.
I'm
sorry for being so rude. So they never reached out to you. You just. How did you learn of the Magic 30th Anniversary product?
I think I jump around, between different YouTube videos about Magic from time to time while I'm working. I just listen to what's going on. Yours, I have to watch because of course I only speak English, but I put on the translate and I will watch yours sometimes because you got good energy and you're
thanks
you're a good source. Yeah. So I just heard about it just because it was in the wind, and I was like, no way. And when I went and looked at the video where they're talking about it, the promotional video, I'm like, oh, this is gross. Because if I did mostly common cards. So what is the people's reaction going to be when they open up this very expensive purchase they made and they see only common cards in there? Every time they see one of my cards, they're going to be saying, oh, nothing but shit, nothing but crap. It's like, oh, yay.
I've seen in media that Justin Hoover, Quentin Hoover's son, was very vocal about his dissatisfaction with Wizards about the Magic 30th. And of course, he's not the only one. As I said, he's one that went very public about this. But I've heard that other artists also were not. The point I'm making is, it doesn't look like they cut you off the loop. I have the impression that they just printed whatever, and they didn't talk to any artists and said, we've got... Heck, I even saw that Mark Poole's signature was taken off of art. And, come on. It's bad enough to surprise release the art from people, but to alter it, and specifically to take out the signature? Oof.
That's if they crop it, I think that is a violation actually of the agreement. I know they can't actually change the art. They can only do that with the pieces that were done work for hire, which were completely sold to the company outright.
This is something I've always wondered about. I understand that there is the old art was the artist's art, and they were paid to allow Wizards to use it a certain amount of times. And ever since, I don't know, I'm going to say late 96, 97, when they started actually hiring artists, then the art became something that the company ordered to be done to their specifications, and thus they can use however they see fit for whatever uses they deem appropriate. Is that right? Am I too far off the mark?
Yeah, the term that I'm familiar with is work for hire, which is a single fee that is a complete trade. You know, here's the artwork. It's all yours. Everything about it is yours.
Okay.
And you're paying me for that. So that is what it changed to. And I can't say anything about anything that I sold to them in that way. That's theirs. It's completely their property, and I have nothing to say about anything relating to it. Really.
Okay, so whatever they do with it, it's their problem. It's none of your business. That's it. But
they can take the image and they can chop it up and combine it with other things. They can do Photoshop manipulations with it. They can do whatever they want because it belongs to them.
Their business. It's their art. They do whatever they want. But
exactly.
The old art, the very early art, and whoever's watching, don't quote me when I say 1996. I'm just saying 1996 because that's when Suan Harkey replaced Jesper Miffers, and so I'm guessing she was the person who did this change, or she was the person in order to do this change. I don't know the year itself, but my understanding is that the very early art, the alpha art, you did not sell them the art. You just gave them the right to use this art, which is still yours, for this specific product.
Right.
Is that right? And then they're not allowed to change the art or twist it around or change colors, crop it, nothing. It is your art. You're just allowing it to be used.
They can do minor color correction, just something to make everything look good, but not actually alter it. And I don't think that the art directors never had anything to do with the contracts. Other than, Jesper was very instrumental in the good aspects of the contracts, but I don't. It was the lawyers that.
I'm sorry if I don't think I made myself clear. I did not mean to imply that Suan Harkey was the person that decided to do this. It's just that I have read before that this happened as she was hired. So it was a chronological thing, not a cause relation. Not that she was the one responsible for writing the contracts or something.
That sounds like that's probably right. Yeah. So if you decide to do a work for hire, job, you shouldn't have any problem with what happens to the work after that.
Yeah.
But if they're what you say, they're erasing Mark Poole's signature.
Yep.
I can
look it up.
Okay. Yeah, I know that they cropped Mark Tadin's soul ring quite a bit, and that too. That.
Let me just look at his art for Alpha. I'm gonna just grab something with, let's say, balance, and balance apparently is not. Howling Mine. Oh, this is odd. I could have sworn I had the images for. Oh, here it is. No, Howling Mine is still here.
Maybe they were talking about.
Could be a cropping. Could be a cropping issue. Now that you pointed this out, no, Ancestral Recall. It is also here. You know what? I am going to apologize for baselessly accusing Wizards of the Coast, because I'm not going to spend the however time is necessary to find the source where I first seen this complaint. But in case I am wrong in apologizing, in this video, at this point in the video, I'm going to show the original card and the Magic 30th Anniversary card. So I apologize for baseless accusations. This is very responsible on my end.
It makes a lot of sense, actually, because the signature is usually on the outer edges of the artwork somewhere.
Yep.
So if they crop it, it may have been an unintentional, cropping of the name. It might be
the case. Might be the case.
It doesn't seem like something that they would do intentionally. And I know Mark did change his signature a little bit since then, but yeah, I think it just got bumped out of the image, probably.
Yeah, which I guess it isn't okay, but it's less bad. Oh, that's it. That's exactly it. It is, yeah, because of yep. You hit the hammer on the head. It is not Mark Poole. It is Mark Tedding.
Oh,
Soul
with
Ring
Soul
specifically.
Ring.
It is very on the corner of the image. They very much cropped it. The signature's gone.
Why would they do that, do you think?
I have no idea. I cannot for the life of me imagine. It is such an iconic art.
Yeah.
It is the art people like. People pay a premium for the specifically old Mark Tedding art. I don't know why they mess with it. Do you have any thoughts?
I mean, it sounds like they talk about it like it's just a variation on the original. I don't know, but it pisses me off because, you know, Mark is a friend of mine, and you don't like seeing little travesties, people, you know, messing with your friends' stuff, you know, and he won't say anything about it, I'm sure. But, you know, I'm out there always, you know, telling people how to pronounce his name because he won't tell them if they're wrong.
Wait a second, isn't it Tedding?
Tedding? Yeah, that's close. Yeah, Tedding.
Okay, Tedding. Yeah. This is also another artist whose art I appreciate very, very much. Well, and now I'm looking at 30th anniversary art, and yeah, same thing happens with Mana Vault. Yep, there are a few arts. Well, as we said, I guess it's less bad if it's just air quotes, just a cropping issue, but it's still pretty egregious.
It might have something to do with the frames, you know, if they. I don't even know if the art is in the same dimensions in
it's bigger.
Old...
The newer frames, they have the newer frames have more space for the art, but the proportion should be very close, if not the exact same. So as you said, it really takes the fun out when things are done not for let's make a good product reasons and start being done for reasons of the focus group has pointed that this way will increase the sales in 7% reasons.
Yeah, it just seems very greedy and dishonest, and I'm very protective of the community now because of how supportive the community is, you know, to me and the other artists. It's there's some solidarity there, and I don't like seeing WotC just taking everything for granted.
Yeah, they act like they've, and it's fun. It is weird for me to say that because a couple years ago, I did a video called "Top 10 Times Wizards Killed Magic," and this is like 4 or 5 years ago. This is quite a while ago, and at this video, I did make fun of the doomsayers that say that they're making huge mistakes, and I defended them, saying, "Come on, Wizards is a company. They've been here for 30 years, and they've done things that I personally disagree with, but all in all, they're taking care of the game." And that's my video that I look back and I was like, well, shit.
Oh yeah, okay, you understand then.
yeah, I get the feeling. So my understanding is that right now you are you're particularly not fond of Wizards of the Coast. Was there any particular? I mean, what was Magic 30th the straw that broke the camel's back, or were you already done with them?
Well, I wouldn't say I hate them.
Mm-hmm.
I would say I'm disappointed, and you know, I'm astonished that I cannot figure out how this was a good business move for them. So
And
maybe they have
by this you specifically mean the
30th.
Yeah, okay.
The 30th collector's edition.
Yep.
I don't. I mean, they might have some master plan. You know, they might have some genius that is going, oh, just do it. It'll be perfect. Everybody will love it. Your company will be loved by everyone. You know, is that happening? Because this is a really weird move to me.
Not so far. No. If I mean, they did one good thing with it. It's funny how close they were, because they announced that they're giving each WPN store one box, and hell, I was thinking, you know what? If they never sold the product and just said, it is the 30th anniversary, we're giving out to each store one box containing 4 boosters of these old cards, non-tournament legal form. That would be like the second coming of Christ. Come on, the Wizards of the Coast would be the most loved company ever. But no.
Do you know what a wood chipper is?
Yep, the thing that you put in the big logs to turn them into sawdust.
Yeah. Okay. I promise you, I think they're going to probably send me a copy of this product, and I will make a video with you of me putting one of those $1,000 blocks into a wood chipper.
The wood chipper.
And then we'll sort through the remains of it, and we'll see what we got. You know, we'll go find a Black Lotus in there. Yeah, I'm just, I don't want to be part of the whole greed aspect of it.
Yeah, it is baffling. It is baffling.
This thing probably cost them, less than $1 to produce.
Oh, certainly. And that's that. It's just the crown jewel of a long series of baffling decisions, which is why I was asking if this was the thing that disappointed you, or if you had been feeling. The word I would describe, the word me personally would use to describe is queasy. Ever since for the past 3 years or so, I've been kind of queasy at their choices. It's not just the 30th anniversary collection. It's a ton of small things. It's like how Secret Lair was originally handled, how they did exclusive cards for this stuff, how the very awaited Secret Lair of the fetch lands was 5 times more expensive than any other, and the time and time again that the only explanation for their actions was like, well, they're trying to make the most as much money as they can, which makes sense. They're a company, but I don't have to like it. And Magic 30 was just the first one that I'm like, you know what? 12 years in age, I've once had the very unpleasant job to tell employees that healthcare was going to be cut and frame it as good news. And yet, I have never met such a baffling corporate move as Magic 30th Anniversary. It makes no sense in any way, shape, or form. It doesn't make a financial sense. It doesn't make collector sense. It doesn't make stockholders sense. Nothing. It's just... I'm with you. I'm hoping they have a master plan that we just can't see yet.
I do have a thought on that, but it's something that somebody else shared with me, and they believe that perhaps this is a way for Wizards to reattach themselves to the intellectual properties that were not being published for 5 years. I mean, how much is that worth?
Yeah. Yeah, but, well, that would be... I'm not sure that's the best way they could do it, but
well, how else would
it's a way. It's a way. Oh, well, they as I said, and here's the thing: did they have to make such a incredibly heck? You remember what's the name? The collector's edition. They could have done the exact same thing. Just put the non-tournament legal versions in a box and sell the whole set. They could even charge more than $1,000. There would be people who like playing Cube or like collecting that would very gladly go for that. It's just that the specific choice. I mean, the specific choice of selling 4 booster packs for $1,000 tells me that they did not want people to purchase this because the price point is so egregious. There was a 30th anniversary Mox Pearl that sold for a little over $3,000.
Did it? Yeah.
It's sold on eBay. So I'm not sure if the person paid for it, but publicly it was sold for over $3,000. But for a little under $4,000, you could buy yourself a Mox Pearl, the original Mox Pearl.
Right.
So the price point is so egregious that if you can afford this, you might as well just buy the original. So why? The way I see this is they do not want people to actually purchase this. Why would they?
I think they do want people to think that is that valuable, though, because then later they can include a pack in something that maybe there doesn't have as much value as they would like it to. Like you include this in a set of like a bulk purchase.
I did have a conspiracy theory on this
that's what these are. Yeah,
of course, naturally. Neither I nor Anson are affiliated with Wizards legal department in any way, shape, or form. Well, I guess you are in some way, shape, or form because you've had contracts with them before, but you've never written them. I've heard once that they never intended to sell these, that they just announced how worth it they were, and they were going to send them to stores as the gift and never put them for sale. And then this will be the mythological product that was $1,000 for 4 boosters, but you can't buy them. The only way to get them is... But then
That's exactly...
Yeah, and then they went and put it for sale. So, well, I don't know.
Maybe.
Anson, this has been a blast. I am honored and extremely happy to have had this conversation with you. Before we turn in for the night, what are you up to these days? What have you been doing? If people want more Anson Maddocks, where should they go to?
Oh, they can go to ansonmaddocks.com, and we have a modest website there that we sell prints and artist proofs.
All right.
And
do you do playmats?
Do I sell them?
Yeah.
Or do I? Yes. Yeah, we have a few playmats. We're a little behind on our inventory, but I'm supposed to be working on that. Brenda says hello, by the way.
Hello, Brenda.
Yeah. Yeah, she's a little disappointed in me not keeping up with keeping all the products available. But yeah, you can see what's going on there.
All right. Well, it has.
Oh, would you like me to send you something?
Oh my God, I very much would. It is extremely generous of you to offer.
Yeah, take a look and see what you like, and then drop Brenda an email, and then we'll send you something.
Oh, thank you very much. I definitely will.
Cool.
I'm not doing that right now because that'll be rude to start looking at this website while we're chatting. That would be completely unprofessional of me. Bom, essa foi a entrevista. Na verdade, nós continuamos conversando mais um pouquinho de tempo depois sobre ideias de fazer mais vídeo falando sobre arte. É que aí a gente meio que desgringolou para umas paradas que ele contratualmente não pode falar sobre, e como o Anson ficou com... Ele ficou uma situação meio tipo, putz, isso que eu falei agora, se você publicar, vai ficar ruim pra mim. E aí eu falei, não, pô, por isso não. Corta-lhe a cabeça. Não tem por que queimar uma ponte dessas. Eu agradeço vocês que assistiram. Se você curtiu, deixe seu joinha. Se não gostou, deixe seu joinha. Se você tem dúvidas, comentários, opiniões, perguntas adicionais, coloque aqui embaixo. Conversando com Anson Maddocks, estou convicto que ele vai ficar muito feliz em receber perguntas daqui da América Latina. E se você acha que é uma boa ideia fazer um outro vídeo sobre a arte dele especificamente, também, por favor, coloque aqui embaixo. Vai demorar um pouquinho mais porque, como eu disse, essa parada de colocar legenda em vídeo é salgado. Putz, Se você quer ajudar com esse projeto, bem como todos os outros vídeos do canal, o Apóie-se tá aqui na descrição, através do qual você financia todas as maluquices que eu faço aqui no Fazendo Nerdice. Espero que todos tenham se divertido e até a próxima. Tchau, tchau. Opa! Lendo os comentários aqui sobre o Flesh and Blood e derretendo ainda. Sim, eu tô gravando isso no mesmo dia que eu gravei o vídeo de anteontem. O Rafael Júlio, ele explica que de fato não existe mais o sistema de primeira edição e de Unlimited, porque tava ruim pra quem só queria jogar. Assim que a edição saía, só tinha First Edition nas lojas, que a galera tava rapelando e ficava ruim de você conseguir cartas, por causa da galera tentando fazer buyout de First Edition. E aí eles decidiram parar com isso e só colocar as Cold Foils como raras mais difíceis de sair. Eu acho zoado, na real. Mas tá tendo buyout do produto. Sim, e? Normal. TCG é assim, filho. Lucas Pimpinato disse: é isso aí, Elba. Comecei agora no Fab, montei um Icelander e um Azalea com R$120. Parabéns pela Icelander, sinto muito pela Azalea. Fazendo estratégia, respeitando o limite orçamentário. Cartas que são difíceis de jogar no Brasil. Uma dica pra quem quer começar, compensa muito começar no Blitz e procurar decks de Commoner. Commoner é o Pauper do Flesh and Blood. Geralmente são decks bem baratos e você consegue transformar em Blitz muito facilmente. Aqui em São Paulo, eu nem sei aonde jogar Classic Constructed ou Commoner, eu só sei onde joga Blitz aqui. E o Bakunin disse que aqui na minha cidade o jogo está sendo muito bem recepcionado. A principal lojinha está fazendo ótimos torneios e as primeiras impressões do TCG são realmente muito boas. Como eu disse, do ponto de vista competitivo, Flesh and Blood é muito, muito bom. Pra curtir e tal, pra se divertir com os amiguinhos, tem o PF, Ultimate Pitch Fight, que é tipo um Commander de Flesh and Blood, que eu não consigo imaginar como seja divertido. Mas pra competir, 1x1, ver quem é o melhor, nossa, o jogo é do caramba, velho. Pessoal, esse é o tempo que temos por hoje. Falou!